Welcome back to our channel, Hume's Little Homestead. Today I wanted to give a pregnancy update. We were able to go to the doctor yesterday. I will give you a little bit of an update on that in this video. I also wanted to go over the garden, and we're coming to the end of the season. I think we might get another harvest of tomatoes if we're lucky, if the weather holds out, but it has been starting to get chillier and chillier at night, so tomatoes can't really stand cooler temperatures. So I think that pretty soon we're going to be out of tomato season. And I wanted to go over which ones were our favorites for a lot of different reasons, and just go over which plants did the best and which ones I really want to grow next year. Next year I have a lot of different ideas for our garden. I'm not going to be doing as many tomatoes, which I've always done lots and lots of tomatoes, so that will be very new and different. And I'm also going to do a lot, I have been doing vertical gardening, but I want to do a lot more archways in the garden next year, so, and a lot more vining plants. So that is my plan. So we will be taking down all of these cattle panels. We'll also be needing to use those for our pig. These papers are just my notes on what I planted in the garden. So let's go ahead and go into the garden and see it in its final harvest. Here's our little pig. Its leg is doing so much better, and it just follows us around. Another thing I'll have to let you know, I have been pretty sick this pregnancy, so don't judge my garden. It is completely wild and overgrown with lots and lots of weeds in it. So I did not plan to have this happen. Well, the honeysuckle looked pretty cool. I'll show you that first. But anyway, like I said, I didn't plan to get this sick. We did plan this pregnancy, but I didn't plan to be this sick at the end of the gardening season. So just don't judge my plants. It's not pretty. There's a lot of yellow leaves that I would have trimmed. I would have trimmed a lot of branches off tomatoes. There's a lot of things I would have done differently if I had been feeling better. But have been just taking it easy. So that's just a little disclaimer that my garden is not as pretty as it could have been this year. Even the honeysuckle are just wild. But I am thrilled that they've made it to the top of this. And I'm going to go ahead and weave those in so that they can do well next year. And I think it looks really pretty. It's a nice entrance to my garden. So at the front here we have the marigolds and some herbs. The pig's going to join me. There's probably lots of stuff it can find on the ground. So let's just start in this. See what I mean? So many weeds. It's going to be okay. It got wet. So we start with marigolds and herbs at this corner. And right here is Matt's Wild Cherry. Now, this tomato plant didn't do well, but I think it's the location. Because last year I had cucumbers here, and those didn't do very well either. So I think I need amendments in my soil. I will grow Matt's Wild Cherry somewhere else next year because it is one of my favorites, and they just produce these super tiny cute tomatoes that taste so delicious. So this plant did bad, but that's not the plant's fault. Last year I had a plant that got huge, so I know that it's just the poor condition of the soil. Then I've got a zinnia, and see there, it's just time for things to start dying off. So that's what's going on with that. And then I had nasturtium down there. I'm sure it's probably, yeah, it's gone. It's died. And Pig is totally enjoying being out here in the garden. That is so funny. This tomato plant did well. And it's the Cherokee Purple. That's surprising. I did not think this was Cherokee Purple when I came out and picked don't think it was. Here is the Cherokee Purple, right here. I remember it now. I actually haven't gotten a single tomato off of this plant. I think it's because I overcrowded. But I don't think I'm going to be growing the Cherokee Purple next year. It didn't do well this year for me. The next right here, and I haven't tied any of these tomatoes up, so they are just starting to reach the ground here. I should have tied it up to the top of that. It would look much better if I had. This is pink Brandywine. I got a couple off of this one and they were really yummy. But I did 2 pink Brandywines, and next year I think I'll only do 1 pink Brandywine, and I'm not sure. I don't know. The Brandywines haven't been my favorite this year because they had a lot of cracking and a lot of blossom end rot, which I couldn't really prevent because of all the rain we got. So I wasn't as happy with the pink Brandywines this year. The next was VR Moscow, and I have been really, really happy with this plant. So let me just pick one of these. This one's gotten eaten by bugs, but these tomatoes were beautiful, and I got a whole bunch of them off of here, and I really was happy with this plant, the VR Moscow. It had a lot of resistance to a lot of the problems, and like I said, I didn't have the time this year because I haven't been feeling well. So this plant was a really good one that was really consistent. Then, surprisingly, the eggplants did so well. The bugs have really gotten to them now. Like I said, I'm going to be coming out here and pulling, but they've done so well, and every time I come out here, there's more. So I'm just really impressed that these plants did so well because oh, there's an onion down here that's ready to pick. Cool. I'm going to get that onion. And there's some parsley over here. Now, the parsley I'm going to leave in the ground because it will come back next year. It should come back next year. All right, next, moving on to the next row, large red cherry. I will grow another large red cherry. These plants last year and this year did so well for me that look at that, I can't even walk down that row. These plants did so well for me. I will only grow 1 large red cherry plant though. I will only keep 1. I'll probably start a couple and sell my plant starts again. And here's the sweetie right next to it. It also did really, really well. But I think because it's so similar to the large red cherry, I'm going to go ahead and just keep the large red cherry and not plant sweetie plants next year. Next, I have a Roma plant tucked down here. Now, the Romas actually surprised me this year. They produced really well, and there was no problems with the blossom end, and there were no bug damage, so I will probably grow Romas again. They did so well this year. Next this is a Wisconsin 55. Now, all my tomatillos, I had a tomatillo plant over here too. All my tomatillos got infested with bugs, and I'm just not happy with the tomatillos I've been growing, and so I'm not going to grow tomatillos next year. But this Wisconsin 55 did not grow very much. Again, it's a little crowded right here, so it could have been my own, but just the tomatoes right next to it did so well that it's like it should have done well. There was no reason it shouldn't have done well. So I probably will not grow Wisconsin 55 next year. And then on the end, another large red cherry, which as you can see did well. There's a purple basil that's looking really pretty. I have a yellow pear tomato plant right here, and it did fabulous. These ones always produce really well. So I will always plant 1 yellow pear because my kids love the yellow pear tomatoes. It's their very favorite. Next to that, I have a yellow Brandywine. Now, oh my goodness, these awful bugs. Ugh, they're so nasty. They have taken over my garden. I looked up at what they were called. I'll put that on the screen. I can't remember right this second, but this plant, it did okay, but the Brandywines have the bugs infested them. They never did well on the bottom. Like I haven't had the best luck with Brandywines. I don't know if it's our temperature or what, but climate, elevation, I don't know. The Brandywines are not doing well in my area. Oh, I read my chart wrong. I had a butternut squash at the end of this row. This is the Martian Giant. I'm wrong. I have been so happy with this plant, especially because I did not take good care of it at all. But look at this. Look at these beautiful tomatoes it produced. And it was so consistent. Just lovely, beautiful tomatoes. Looks like store-bought tomatoes. And like I said, I haven't done anything with this plant. So this was the Martian Giant, and I'm actually really, really happy with it. And I do want to grow it again next year because I think, especially if I take better care of it, it will do much better. Like if I had staked it up as well as I did that Brandywine, see how this plant is just so sad? If I had done that with this plant, I think that it would have done beautifully. So, and it still produced a lot of amazing tomatoes, even though I kind of neglected it. Hello, pig. You like the garden? And then here's our cucumbers. They did well. They're on their last leg now, but they did very well for us. I cannot complain about these cucumbers. Next, I have a beefsteak tomato, and I pulled that one out on a video because it was infested with aphids, and I didn't want the aphids to spread into the garden, and I'm happy with my choice. So next year I will not be growing beefsteak. And here was another of the Roma tomato. Oh, I haven't been happy with this plant, and let me show you why. All of the tomatoes are split and are like this, and they don't taste very good. So whether that was planting error, this plant I just haven't been happy with. So I've actually been wondering if this was a Roma or an Amish paste. I thought it was Amish paste. Now I know this is Roma. So I don't know. That other plant over there did so well. I'll have to compare my notes. But this plant did pretty bad. It's a big plant, but I really haven't used the fruit because it's done this. This is VR Moscow, and I haven't been happy with this plant either. So I'm really trying to narrow it down to where I have like 2 varieties growing in the garden. So using the VR Moscow. Look at that little bee. Next row is another Martian Giant. This one didn't do so well, but I think it's because of where it's at, so I'm not... I will grow Martian Giant next year because that one has been amazing. And this plant right here, San Marzano, this one, I thought this was a Roma plant. This one has done so well. Beautiful tomatoes. I want to grow this kind for canning. These were so easy to use. And actually, I have 2 San Marzanos right next to each other right here, and they both did well. 2 might even be enough to provide for our family. So the large red cherry wins out over this Chadwick cherry. Here's our last row. I have black crim. Not so happy with the black crim. They had a lot of damage to each tomato that I was harvesting. Then we have Amish paste. I was really happy with the Amish paste. It gives these beautiful big tomatoes for canning. So this plant, yes, was a great plant, and I'll probably do Amish paste again. And then black cherry tomatoes. These have been my favorite snacking tomatoes, and I will definitely do black cherry. And right here I have the green zebra. And they are an interesting little tomato. I don't think I'm going to grow them next year. It's a fun thing to have in the garden, but I don't know if I want to dedicate space for these ones next year. Come on, little pig. It's having so much fun right now. Come on. I realize I just talked mostly about tomatoes and not the squashes, so I think I'll come out here on another day and talk about the squashes. But really quick, I want to go over the okra varieties I planted. Did okay. I think they were in bad soil, but the asparagus row is looking amazing, and I wanted to show you that. This is my row of asparagus. I have 2 rows of it, and I'm hoping this one will spread out like this one has. And I'm really, really happy with how that is looking. And my blackberry bush down here is also doing really well. So I need to do some research on how to grow blackberry bushes because I think it needs some support. Look at that pretty bumblebee. I don't know if you can see it. My camera is actually overheating. It's not that hot out here, but my camera is overheating. The ducklings are so loud right now. Anyway, I'm coming over here to the shade to talk to you a little bit. So that's like a tomato update. When we pull all the tomatoes out, I'll leave the squash and I'll show you my favorite squashes that we grew and what we plan on doing for next year. But like I promised, I want to talk a little bit about our pregnancy update. Tomorrow I will be 11 weeks, which is, I'm not going to lie, I've been a little bit nervous about this week because 11 weeks is when we lost our last pregnancy, our last baby. And so I've been coming to this week with a lot of trepidation and fear and worry. But I've also been at peace because I know, whatever happens is, it's not really in my control other than I can be careful with what I eat. I can be careful with the activities that I do. But it's not always up to us if we get to keep a pregnancy or not. And so I've been nervous. I definitely have been nervous. And so yesterday we actually had an appointment and I was excited but also nervous, and I'm sure anyone who has experienced pregnancy loss, miscarriage, you can understand these feelings that I'm feeling. And so that's why I'm sharing them, because I know others have also gone through this, and it's been really nice to be able to talk to others who have gone through it and been able to give me their insight. And we're also, it's interesting enough because we're also coming up to October when I was due with the baby that we lost. And so October is going to be a hard month, I think. Not super hard, but I think I'll definitely be thinking about our baby a lot. And so behind me is the flower garden I planted for our baby, and I have some new flowers to put in there, and I'll show you what they're going to be. They're going to be really pretty. But anyway, let's talk about this pregnancy. Yesterday was our appointment, and they brought us into the office, and we're really lucky we're allowed to have one person in the office. I know with COVID rules, not everyone can have that. So I feel really lucky that Ryan was able to come into the office with me, and, we have masks on and everything, but I'm just feeling really lucky that he was able to be in the room. And so they sit us down and they get the little, I think it's called a Doppler. I don't know. I'm not very good at medical terminology. Anyway, to find the heartbeat, to listen to the heartbeat. And she said, "Don't worry if I can't find the heartbeat." And I'm like, "Okay, I won't worry." And then she couldn't find the heartbeat. And of course, I know I shouldn't worry, but I'm feeling worried because they couldn't find the heartbeat. And she says, don't worry. The nurse practitioner will be in here shortly with an ultrasound, and we'll see if we can find your baby. And it's like the scariest feeling ever to not be able to find the heartbeat. And so even though I know I'm still really early, the baby's still really tiny, it's logically I know it'd be hard, but she walks out of the room and I just started crying, and I'm like, dang it, what if this baby died too? And so I just had that feeling of like, oh, what if this baby died too? Or, actually I went straight to that thought, this baby is gone too, like it probably died as well. And I was so scared about it, and Ryan's like, don't worry, it'll be fine. And I'm like, I'm just nervous. And so then the nurse practitioner came in with the ultrasound, and we found the baby right away, but it wasn't moving. And I was, again, like, still couldn't really breathe. And she'd only been gone for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, but I swear that time feels like hours when you're waiting to wonder if the baby's going to be okay. And anyway, then she comes in and we find the baby and it's not moving, and I was like, darn it, it's not moving. But then she showed me, and there's the heartbeat, and the heart was beating, and then we could see that it had its arms and legs, and we could even see hands, and then it started jumping a little bit, and then it started kicking, and then it started dancing around. And so then I was like at such peace that our baby is doing okay. So that is our 11-week pregnancy update. Again, I've been pretty sick, so I've just been taking it easy. Our house is a total disaster because of it. But today I've been really hitting the cleaning and trying to I got the kitchen organized, and I'm going to try and really get the living room organized as well, because the mess is really overwhelming to me and the family. It's not, I like to have at least order in my home. I don't have a perfectly clean home, but I like things to be in order. So I will show you the flowers I got for the flower garden, and I'll be planting those in a couple weeks. I kind of want to plant them at the beginning of October when our other baby was due, so I think that would be really cool to commemorate our other baby by planting at the beginning of October each year. So, and they are, I'll just go show you those right now. I got crocus bulbs. I really like bulb flowers for this garden because the idea that the flowers will come back year after year reminds me of the promise of the resurrection, and I really like that. I like bulb flowers for that purpose, that they will be coming back every year, year after year. And we got daffodils, and I just think that these are really pretty, and they'll add some really pretty colors into that flower garden. We've got mostly oranges and reds, so I thought a purple and yellow would look really, really nice. And just to go over the plants that I want to plant next year, the tomatoes, I will be growing Matt's Wild Cherry again. I will be growing VR Moscow. I'm circling it in purple so I know and can remember. I will be growing large red cherry, and that will be my cherry tomato plant for salads. I will be growing yellow pear for my kids. Martian giant, or Martin giant, I still don't know how to say that. Please correct me. I am not going to do Roma, but I am going to do the San Marzano. Those beat out. And those are the same type of tomatoes as Roma. And I'm not saying that Romas aren't great, but for my area and my purposes, San Marzano is going to fit our needs the best. And black cherry. I feel like that should get 2 circles because that was my favorite. And Amish paste, which is again another canning, but it'll be bigger. So looks like I have narrowed it down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 varieties. So that's better than I have a million on here so far. So anyway, and there's mud on my, this is just mud on my list. Again, I'll go over the squashes with you next time and show you my plan for that. Quick update on the pig. The pig is doing much, much better. Both of its legs are functioning well, and it can walk and run. And it will be moving outside very soon because it is a very loud animal, and it's time for it to go outside. For the time being, while it is still small, it will come in at night to sleep in the dog crate, but it really needs to go outside very soon. It's been interesting keeping a baby pig and feeling not great, but it's been a fun animal, and it's been different, and I'm so happy to have the opportunity to learn how to raise pigs because it's been on my to-do list and my goal list, and I'm excited that we got one this fall. So and we have decided we will be processing the pig in 5 months. It should take about 5 months to raise it. So that's what will be happening to that pig. I know it's kind of sad, but yeah. The first day I was like, how could I ever eat bacon again? And then the second day I'm like, whoa, you're kind of annoying. And the third day I'm like, okay, I'm totally ready to eat some bacon and sausage. Like, this is hard, and pigs are different. You'll have to raise it and tell me what you think about raising pigs yourself, because they are a little bit more demanding. Granted, we got our pig very, very young, and normally probably wouldn't get the pig for like 3 or 4 more weeks from now. But right now, it's a very demanding animal to raise. So let me know your thoughts on pigs if you've done them before. This is our first time. And that's pretty much it. I will have a video soon on how to plant lemon balm. Ours has rooted really nicely, and Levi really wants to transplant his orange trees. So he just grew some orange trees from a clementine seed, those little tiny cuties. I think those are called clementines, those little tiny oranges. He has 2 trees growing that he planted, so they need to be repotted. So I've just been kind of looking for pots on sale. So I'm gonna find some good pots for him. I haven't found any that I'm too happy with yet, but they really need to be repotted, so that's gonna be happening soon as well. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're new to our channel, thank you for stopping by, and we would appreciate it if you subscribed. If you've already subscribed, we appreciate your support, and we give you our love. Bye!